Wrestling has always blurred the line between reality and fiction, but sometimes the most shocking stories are the ones that happen when the cameras stop rolling, and few stories capture that better than the complicated, messy, and career-altering love triangle between Triple H, Chyna, and Stephanie McMahon. A situation that didn't just break hearts, it quietly reshaped the future of WWE itself, because before the corporate suits, before the billion-dollar deals, before the global empire we see today, there was a relationship that changed everything, and it started in the late 1990s when a woman named Joanie Laurer walked into the WWF and flipped the entire industry upside down. Introduced in 1997 as the silent, intimidating bodyguard of D-Generation X,
might be the world's most dangerous man, but I'm bringing something with me even deadlier than that.
The world's most dangerous woman.
The emergence of...
Standing beside Shawn Michaels and Triple H, Chyna wasn't just another valet. She was something wrestling had never seen before. Dominant, believable, and unapologetically different.
To see a woman as the muscle for a man. You're not able to place why something is different at first, but you know when you're seeing something for the first time. And that's what Chyna was.
And behind the scenes, it was actually Triple H who pushed for her to get an opportunity, a decision that would end up changing both of their lives forever. Because as they trained together, traveled together, and built their careers side by side, something began to grow. What started as chemistry turned into a relationship, and before long, they were inseparable.
Joanie and Triple H worked together for quite a while. Joanie was loyal to him. She loved him. She was very much in love with him.
I remember the first time they walked into my house. It was almost bigger than life. But they were perfect together.
Rising through the ranks of WWF as one of its most unique power couples, and while their bond grew stronger behind the scenes, Chyna's career exploded on screen. She wasn't just standing next to the guys anymore, she was stepping into the ring with them and beating them, entering the Royal Rumble, competing in King of the Ring, even becoming the #1 contender for the WWF Championship, things no woman had ever done before. She wasn't just breaking barriers, she was destroying them. And at the same time, Triple H was evolving too, slowly stepping out of the mid-card and into the main event spotlight, becoming one of the company's most important rising stars. By the time the year 2000 rolled around, both of them were at the peak of their careers. Chyna was appearing on mainstream television, starring in shows, landing magazine covers, even releasing a best-selling autobiography, while Triple H was becoming The Game, a central figure in WWF's biggest storylines, and from the outside looking in, everything seemed perfect. The careers, the fame, the relationship, it looked unbreakable. But behind the scenes, cracks had already begun to form because around this same time, a new storyline was introduced on WWF television, one that would change everything. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, the boss's daughter, were paired together on screen. What started as a scripted marriage angle quickly became one of the hottest storylines in the company, the McMahon-Helmsley era. But what fans didn't realize was that the chemistry they were seeing wasn't entirely fake, because somewhere along the line, fiction started turning into reality. And as the on-screen romance developed, so did something behind the scenes.
By the time, Triple H and I started our on-screen storyline, we just sort of had great chemistry, and it just went from there.
Hunter, I take thee as my husband.
Our storyline was, that we were married and we took over the business and drove my dad out. One time when I was standing around the ring, he sort of crawled around me. He was, on the floor, and he felt my leg. And I was like, that's definitely flirtation there.
That's not part of the script.
And while Triple H and Stephanie grew closer, Chyna was left in the dark, at least at first. Rumors began circulating backstage, whispers in locker rooms, subtle changes in behavior. Something didn't feel right, and Chyna could sense it. She later recalled how Triple H's attitude began to shift, how things between them started falling apart, and how she felt like he was pulling away without explanation. But every time she questioned him, she was told nothing was going on, that it was all just in her head. But deep down, she knew something had changed. And eventually, curiosity turned into suspicion, and suspicion turned into confirmation. Because one day, Chyna found something she wasn't supposed to see. A love letter, written by Stephanie McMahon, dated months earlier, proof that what she feared had been happening for far longer than she had been led to believe.
I would ask Hunter time and time again. I figured it's better just to address the problem and ask him honestly. So we got into a heated argument. I told him, I know something's going on. Don't tell me something's not going on. He swiped my hand. I swiped his hand. I knew at that point I had to leave. But I needed some sort of closure. And I found a love letter from Stephanie that had dated a year back. So the whole time they were doing the storyline, basically they were together.
In that moment, everything came crashing down. The relationship, the trust, the illusion of stability, it was all gone, and what followed was chaos, emotional confrontations, heated arguments, and a situation that quickly spiraled out of control. Chyna didn't stay silent. She went straight to Vince McMahon, exposing the relationship, forcing everything into the open. And when she showed up to work after that, the atmosphere had completely changed. She described it like walking into a room where everyone already knew the ending except her. Tension filled the air. Friendships felt distant, and the locker room, once a place of camaraderie, now felt divided. And then came the confrontation, a moment that would define everything. Stephanie McMahon, no longer hiding, stood her ground, openly declaring her feelings for Triple H, making it clear that this wasn't just a storyline anymore. It was real, and for Chyna, it was the ultimate betrayal, not just from her partner, but from the environment she had helped build. And while emotions ran high, the business side of wrestling kept moving. Because in WWE, personal issues don't stop the machine. They get absorbed into it, twisted, repackaged, and sometimes quietly erased. And that's exactly what seemed to happen next, because shortly after the situation exploded, Chyna's position in the company began to change. Conversations shifted toward contracts, negotiations, and future plans, but nothing felt secure anymore. And then, without much warning, it was over. In 2001, Chyna was gone from WWF just like that. And while the official explanation pointed to contract disagreements, with reports suggesting she demanded a higher salary than the company was willing to offer, many fans couldn't ignore the timing, the tension, and the personal drama that had unfolded just months earlier. Was it really about money? Or was it something deeper, something more complicated? The truth, like most things in wrestling, exists somewhere in the gray area, because while executives like Jim Ross maintained that it was purely a business decision, others believe the emotional fallout made it impossible for things to continue. And as for Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, their relationship didn't just survive, it thrived, eventually leading to marriage, children, and a permanent place at the top of WWE's corporate structure. A real-life power couple that would go on to shape the company's future in ways no one could have predicted at the time. But for Chyna, the story didn't end the same way. Her departure marked the beginning of a difficult chapter, one filled with struggles both personal and professional, as she attempted to rebuild her life outside the spotlight of WWE, a spotlight she had once dominated. And while her contributions to wrestling would eventually be recognized, her journey after leaving the company was far from easy, battling inner demons, facing public scrutiny, and trying to find peace after everything she had been through. And in 2016, that journey came to a tragic end, leaving behind a legacy that is both groundbreaking and heartbreaking. Because when you look back at this story, it's not just about a love triangle. It's about ambition, power, timing, and the blurred lines between personal relationships and professional wrestling. It's about how one situation behind the scenes can ripple across an entire industry, changing careers, altering trajectories, and redefining the future. Because without this story, without this moment, WWE might not look the way it does today. And that's what makes it so fascinating, so controversial, and so unforgettable. A reminder that in wrestling, the most compelling stories aren't always the ones written in the script. Sometimes they're the ones that happen when nobody is supposed to be watching.